you. Carol Beaumont.
Look, I find it sad to be rising to speak on this bill, and to when there's such a genuine need to have something done to deal with the issue of affordable housing, and we have got this bill which during the course of this debate the Minister has finally said something about an order in council, as my colleagues Rajan Prasad and Phil Twyford have alluded to tonight. But when you look at this bill, it is not a bill about affordable housing, and that is what we need. And so we oppose this bill, but I actually say there's no pleasure in doing so, because we are genuinely committed to seeing effective changes in the area of housing. For Labor, housing is a huge and important policy area. It is going to make a difference to people's quality of life, a difference to children's health and education. Accessing housing at a price that people can afford, and especially being able to own their own house, is part of being part of a community and feeling like a person has a place in their community. So this bill, the Housing Accords and Special Housing Areas Bill, others have talked about renaming it. I thought, well, you could keep that name, except perhaps add on the end but not affordable housing, so that the title would be Housing Accords and Special Housing Areas but Not Affordable Housing Bill. And so we do see the need for bold action to address the housing affordability crisis, and we support the idea of a short-term mechanism to stimulate the building of affordable housing through accords with councils and special housing areas with fast-track consenting. We don't actually have a problem with that. And during the course of this debate, and I've tried a couple of times previously to have a say on this, we've heard all sorts of comments made by the Minister about what our motivation is and what our housing spokesperson is and isn't saying, that are actually not true. We do actually agree there needs to be land supply and planning regulations do need to be looked at in terms of housing, and the Minister's looking at me, so I thought, well, maybe I could actually help him out on this and quote from Phil Twyford on the matter of land availability, because I want to set the record straight. When it was said earlier today that we didn't think that land supply was an issue, well, this is a direct quote from Phil Twyford in the second reading of this bill. He said, "There is no doubt, and I want to put to rest any suggestion by the Minister of Housing in his last speech, that this party does not accept that land supply is a problem in Auckland. It is clearly not a problem in Tauranga and other regional centres that suffer extreme housing affordability. But for the sake of this argument, let us be very clear and put on record that there is no doubt, the data makes it crystal clear, that constraints on land supply in Auckland and the failure to intensify is behind the increase in price in land that has flowed onto the price of housing. But land supply is only one factor in the housing crisis, and the National Party has a fixation with it." So I just wanted to set the record straight on that. I think it's pretty important. We did support this bill to Select Committee because we were interested in seeing if there was some value in this bill. However, we're not going to support this bill because we believe it's flawed in its design and it will not achieve its stated aim of more affordable housing. And the mechanism is not there in the bill, and the Minister's now talking about what he may do by order in council. But in this bill, there is nothing that ensures that new houses are built in special housing areas that have a portion of them affordable to low and middle income earners. And at the moment, there is something like 5% of new residential construction that is affordable. That is just meaning that so many New Zealanders see no hope of owning their own home. And I want to particularly note young New Zealanders like my niece, who is currently finishing her university education with a large student loan. I don't believe she sees that any time in the foreseeable future she will be able to pay off that debt and save enough money to buy her own home in this country. And that's right. In all probability, as my colleague says, a bright young woman like her will probably end up going overseas for better income and a better future. And that is just not what we want and what we need in this country. So again, I say that this bill only picks up a couple of factors underlying the crisis. Mr Chair.
Holly
Mr. Chair.
Walker.
Thank you very much, Mr Chair. Well, I don't